Okay, so Alex Bourne, Rockwell Music School. Thank you for being here on Top Teachers.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. That was the phony intro, and so basically, I just wanted to hear talk about talking to a lot of teachers, trying to get a sense of how they got started in music, how that kind of transition from being a musician to being a teacher kind of went, like, and that kind of deal. And then you as a school owner, that's a whole nother layer, right? Like going from teaching to trying to do the parts of the business that keep your lights on. So, I just to start out, like, when did you start playing? I saw that you grew up in Germany. Is that right?
No, I studied abroad in Germany in
Oh,
college.
okay, okay.
Yeah. I started playing at about 11. My story about that is so the first album that I bought with my own money was Green Day Dookie, that
Nice.
album. And I remember standing at Target. I was trying to decide between the Green Day album and Michael Jackson's Dangerous album. And
Nice.
I chose Green Day and, started listening to that. My friends were listening to it. And I wanted to take guitar lessons so that I could learn those songs. So that's where it started at 11, and it just took off from there. I got all the magazines and had some private lessons, had some group lessons.
So it went from like getting that record at 11, and then you said, like, mom or dad, like, hey, can I take guitar lessons? And they said yes right away, or they were like, wait a minute, kid, like, let's figure this out.
Yeah. So my mom always required us to take an instrument as long as we were in school. So we always had to take an instrument. My first instrument was French horn, and I took that at nine, age 9 and 10, and didn't like that too much. I was good at it, but I didn't like it too much.
Soggy left hand, right?
What's that?
Soggy left hand. Don't you stick your hand in the bell of the French horn as you're
Yeah, you
playing?
do. It would be the
Okay.
right hand.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the right hand. Okay. I was
Yeah.
not a French horn player.
Yeah. Yeah, but it didn't get wet or anything. It stayed pretty dry.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't really like it. I think the reason why was just because I didn't hear that much French horn music in my life.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the sound of the instrument, but didn't have a whole lot of application for it. So guitar was kind of the next step for that. So that was my instrument, um, and I loved
So
it.
you got the Green Day record. Do you? I don't remember if there's a picture of them on the cover. I know what the cover is. I know there's not a picture of them on the cover, but in the, like, liner notes, is there, like, I'm just wondering, like, did you try to get, like, Billy Joe's guitar, or, like, what was your, like, first guitar?
Um, yeah, there are pictures of them on the inside cover. I don't think I was that into like gear or anything at that point. I just knew that I wanted to play the songs that made me feel good. And my first guitar was an instrument that my uncle lent to me. I think it was called a Gambel's Coronado, and it was good enough to work for the time being. And I think after a year or two, I upgraded to a Stratocaster and a better amp. So
Nice.
yeah,
The Gambles, that's electric guitar?
yeah, it was electric guitar.
Nice. So you get the guitar and you go right into lessons, or you try to mess around on your own?
I went right
I guess
into lessons.
11's a while ago, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Went right into lessons. I was taking private lessons with a teacher at the local school. He was doing like public education lessons, and he taught me like REM songs and some Green Day and some Led Zeppelin, and it was just enough to get my feet wet and start an appreciation for the instrument and the music. So
Nice, man. So you go from that, you get your own Stratocaster, you get your own amp. I presume you probably start playing with people at that time.
um, for the first 2 years, I actually didn't play for anybody. other than my family. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but it was just kind of a personal thing. I didn't want to really play for anybody yet. Maybe I felt like I wasn't good enough, or just didn't want the criticism, or it was just kind of a private thing, you know. But after about 2 years, I started playing in like church worship groups and stuff like that, because I had a lot of friends that were into contemporary Christian music, and lots of churches were looking for players, and they'll take volunteers, and you just got to know a couple chords and be able to play along with.
And you got an audience there, right there, man. That's not, you're not playing to a half empty. Well, you might, I don't know how full the church was, but you're not playing to like a half empty club. I guess you're also like 13 or 14 at this time, but.
Yeah. So I was. I was really into.
Built-in standing ovation. All rise.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of Baptists and Lutherans, and they're pretty modest as far as their celebration goes.
Okay.
So yeah, but I was into other kinds of music, lots of blues, lots of hard rock, and I think I really wanted to have my own like blues group, or my own like rock group, but just wasn't happening at that time. So
I got you.
Yeah.
Nice. So talk to me about the transition into teaching. Is that in that kind of like teen years, were you teaching a lesson or two on the side, or is that something you started to do later on, like as you became like a real, I can grow a beard adult?
I can grow a beard. I like that.
I'm still working on that.
Well, I had a beard on my driver's permit at 15 years old, so I don't.
That's one of those things, man. It's just like some people, that was a real thing in high school. You'd look around and like there were some ski bums at my school that just looked exactly like they had a beard, like a 2-day beard like you, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like sitting there like whatever, and still I'm in my 30s now, and I can't, there's still these guys that don't quite come in, and just like, oh well.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. It was so. I went to high school, was really into guitar playing, and took lessons, and started to set my sights on music college. I got accepted to Berklee College of Music, University of North Texas, Belmont University in Nashville. Just some places that I had heard had really good music programs, and I ended up staying in my hometown, Minneapolis, and going to McNally Smith College of Music. And I'm glad I did. I had a lot more opportunities. It was a smaller school than the other ones I mentioned. And, just got so deep in the music culture there, and started gigging. And eventually I was on a gig with a guy who owned a music school, and this the gig was kind of funny. Actually, we didn't know it was a church gig. Actually, didn't know what the songs were going to be until like the downbeat, started playing, and the way that we played. Fortunately, he also played guitar, and he was just shouting out Nashville numbers, as we're playing on the gig, and it went really well. And it turned out really well. The gig went fine, and didn't no train wrecks or anything. And at the end of it, he said, hey, I'm looking for another teacher at my school. Would you be interested in teaching? Have you ever taught before? And I said, I had taught a few lessons before that, but, a step like this would mean like teaching like 40 to 50 students a week,
From nothing?
From maybe like 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made that, yeah, I made that step. I said, yeah, I'm looking to teach. I knew it'd be better money than my target job at the time. And it was like 3 times better than that. And yeah, just loved it and kept
Your
teaching a bunch of
brain must have
people.
been melting, though, after, you know, talking to 40 or 50 people a week. Oh my God, you must have been completely destroyed at the end of that first week.
At the end of the first week, well, it kind of started small and ramped up.
Okay.
He had a teacher that left, and you know, not on not too good terms, and so basically, I had to call all his former students and see whether they still wanted to take lessons, and I kind of got the scraps, so to speak. Um,
What
but
kind of
so
players? Was it mostly kids, mostly adults?
it was a mix. It was a
Yeah.
mix. Um,
And so you're walking into people that have been in a lesson. That's interesting because it's not like you started a school or started teaching and you got like people coming to you and saying like, "Hey man, let's get started. What are you into? What are you into?" It's somebody who like last week or 2 weeks ago was on lesson 4, and you come in and like whatever. So what was that like? That transition? That must have been interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, I definitely got thrown into the fire in that respect. I think what I decided to do was, I talked to them about, what they did with their previous teacher, and I knew in my head that I couldn't match. You can't be someone else. Like you can't you can't copy someone else or be the same thing for someone else that they were to them. So it's a very hard set of shoes to step into. So I talked to them about, what they liked, what they didn't like, about their previous lessons. And then I just kind of made it my own, and, taught them songs that they liked and, in my own style. And, some people left and some people stuck around, and I knew that was just kind of part of the transition. And fortunately, I had really good retention, and I kept a lot of those students, and it was enough to grow from. So,
Do you remember what? Do you remember some things that you did coming in more as a performer or as having been like a student that you were pretty sure were going to work and then just crashed and burned? Like ideas, like things you tried to teach or ways that you tried to teach that just didn't work during that time.
hmm, I can't. That's a great question. I can't really think of anything at the moment. Um,
Or
things
the other
that,
way around, stuff that when you came in that just resonated right away with people. Was it just the concept of continuing to teach songs that people knew, or was there stuff that you took from your own education that you brought into your teaching that kind of blew people's minds? Do you remember any specifics like that? I just love little details like that.
yeah. So basically, what the way I was operating was. This guy who hired me to teach at a school, he said, you don't really have to be a great player to keep a lot of students or be a good teacher. You just need to create an environment that's fun for the student and enjoyable, and just kind of stay one step ahead of them and teach them what they're interested in, and keep it fun and have personality too. That's a huge part of it. And so that's kind of what I was doing. And I think it's still the way to go. I know that a lot of teachers kind of,
That's
sorry
cool.
about that. Sorry
Yeah,
about
no
that.
problem.
I know that a lot of teachers kind of try to make the next Mozart, or they have this idea in their head of how a student is supposed to learn, and they stick the student on that track when the student maybe just wants to play around the campfire for their friends, or even just by themselves, like I did for the first 2 years. that's totally possible too. And then some people want to play with other people and start a band and become a famous rock star. And I think it's important to kind of know what the student is interested in, what their goals are, and teach them around that.
How quickly do you find you get a sense? I mean, now it's kind of like in the present, like how long does it take you to kind of figure that out? And I have kind of a follow-up question that may or may not be interesting. Do they generally tell you what they actually are into? Like, do you know what I mean? When you're trying to figure out their vibe about like what they're into for like what their goals are, or if they have goals or whatever, is what they tell you actually what is the useful thing, or does it take a few lessons, weeks, months, whatever, before you kind of get into like what is the thing that motivates this person, or like why are they here or whatever?
Yeah, good question. So I've had a lot of practice, but I can usually tell within the first half hour, kind of what a student is interested in, where they are. Actually, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, if they play me something, I can tell where they are in their guitar journey or music journey, and then what kinds of things they're interested in, and what kind of goals they have. But it is a good question. It is kind of hard to tell whether what they're telling you they like is actually what they enjoy, or if they're just kind of being safe, and giving you kind of a safe answer. Because I know it must be kind of awkward to tell some strange new musical expert, like all the things you like, all the music you like, because that's a very personal thing for a lot of people. So the way that I kind of got around that was creating a safe space for them to talk about that, where they felt safe sharing what they enjoy. And that's not too hard. One thing I always say to kind of break that ice is my most embarrassing favorite song is Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. And you can kind of see their shoulders relax, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that is pretty embarrassing. Now I can share, all the things I like, because it's not quite as bad as that, So, and really I've heard all the embarrassing answers. But you just listen and teach it to them, and then it just kind of snowballs from there, and they feel safe about talking about that. So
the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, man. I had another question along those lines that I wanted to get to, but it's gone. So there you go. So do you go right from there into running your own school, or do you bounce around? Do you put teaching down for a while, do other things? Like, what's the journey from kind of that first job, going to getting those students working for somebody, to running your own shop?
Yeah, so I was teaching about 40 to 50 students a week for almost 6 years. And I had my teaching studio was the teaching studio that was directly in front of the door at this place, the school that I taught at. Other teaching studios were kind of off to the side, around the hall and to the back, that kind of thing. But mine was right in front of the door. And I didn't really pick that intentionally, but I'm glad I did, because this place got a lot of walk-in traffic, because we had a great big neon guitar sign. Yeah, neon guitar sign in the door and a busy street out front, and people would see it and they're like, do you sell guitars? Do you teach lessons? What's the deal here? So I had a lot of interest that way. And I was always there, and I had good retention, so I had reason to be there. And I'd be the first one they saw, and I could sign them up right there and put them on my calendar. So I got practice that way. I got a lot of practice that way, handling like leads and potential students and stuff like that. And after about 5 or 6 years, the business, that school kind of fizzled, and I decided to do it on my own, and I made a website um, and sought out leads on different avenues like Thumbtack, and put up some Google ads and stuff like that, and just kind of built it from there. So that's how I started middle school.
I had a question about that. I noticed, I was just like looking at your, stalking you online a little bit, and I noticed that you had a bunch of different stuff. Noticed you mentioned Thumbtack, but one of the things I'm hoping for this kind of series is that it's useful for other teachers to kind of watch and get ideas. And so I was wondering, of the things that you tried, what worked, what didn't, what did you think was going to work but didn't work? What were you trying on a whim that totally delivered? Like, what are some of the things that worked really well for you? Because I noticed you're doing, I noticed like one of the things you're promoting was your Snapchat channel. Like, I've seen your stuff on YouTube, which is super cool. I see you're on LinkedIn. Like, what is the thing that, what are the things that worked and what are the things that didn't?
Yeah, that's a great question. My approach to that is it's like fishing, like the internet is just, you put a bunch of lines out there and you get into things early, and you have a presence on all these different avenues, and eventually one of them or two of them are going to pick up and really get you new leads and stuff like that. And in terms of like SEO, all those sorts of factors and all those places, Thumbtack, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those things play a factor into how high your website ranks, in the search listings. So some things that really worked good for me, Thumbtack is actually really, really useful for me. And Thumbtack is weird because it's like, if you don't do it right, it seems like kind of a scam. Okay. Are you familiar with it at all?
I haven't never used it, but I've seen like kind of how it works, right? It's like a clearinghouse. Like you go in, you say like, I live in St. Paul, and then I want to find somebody who paints my house or teaches me how to play guitar or fixes my sink. Is that right?
Yeah, like a clearinghouse or like a broker for people to find service professionals. And yeah, so people go, well, they just search into Google, I'm looking for a guitar player, and Thumbtack has really good ranking. So they have really good SEO. They're usually near the top. And so people click on that. And then when they're at Thumbtack, they type in their information, what they're looking for. And then Thumbtack sends that information out to all of the service professionals that have, or that match kind of what the client is looking for. And then the way that Thumbtack makes their money is they charge the professionals based on, how many leads they send to them. So it's kind of weird because if you're a service professional on Thumbtack and you're not getting very many leads, it just feels like a waste of time. But once you start getting a few leads, and there's a strategy to it, I've made tens of thousands of dollars from Thumbtack. Once you figure out how to do that, then it can be really useful. So I got a lot of my clients through Thumbtack.
That's cool. And you pay whether they convert or whether you book a lesson with them or not. Basically, you say like, I'll give you $5 if you send me a qualified person or something like that.
Yeah. So you basically pay when Thumbtack sends you a lead that responds to you. That's kind of where the tipping point is that you pay for.
Oh, I got you. That's cool. So like they send you the lead, you send the lead a note or something, and if the lead writes back to you, then you
exactly, yeah.
Gotcha.
And they may or may not sign up for lessons with you. That's kind of the thing, and I think that's where a lot of people feel like it's a scam. Is there's a lot of tire kickers and like price shoppers out there that won't sign up for lessons.
Sure.
But yeah, the way I did it, I kind of hacked it a little bit. Like I put a link to a video and made like a video for every lead that I got. Just took a couple minutes and.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like, hey, Carl, thank you so much for checking me out on this thing. Da 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 da.
Yeah, it was personalized. I just go down their list of things they're looking for. They know it's legit. And
that's awesome. So he's like, or he or she is like, hey, I'm really into blues music, and you're like, how about this?
Exactly. Yeah, with that voice and everything.
Do you like my blues lick that I just played?
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't usually play guitar in the quotes very much, but yeah, they just need to know that you're paying attention and it's for them.
And you're a real human, right?
Yeah, exactly. Humanity.
That's great, man. So you've been doing your guitar school so I want to kind of fast forward because I don't want to miss this. The last year has been pretty wild. I don't know how much you know about the last year, but no, I'm just messing around. If you haven't heard, oh my gosh, sit down. I have something awful to tell you. So a year ago, almost, well, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be a year, everybody shuts down. So, like, what's that like? Were you teaching a lot of remote lessons before? Did you have to figure it out? Like, what was that like about, February, March of last year?
Yeah, so Rockwell Guitar School has been around since like 2014. And one thing we've always prioritized is using technology in our lessons. So we have always kind of been doing virtual lessons as like a makeup option, or like, I live in Minnesota and sometimes we get 15, 20 inches of snow without notice, and I drive a Prius. So that's not going to happen, I'm not going to get anywhere. So it became really convenient to do virtual lessons, and pretty much all of my students were used to that. And yeah, I was teaching before the pandemic, but once the world shut down, it was pretty easy actually for us to switch over to online lessons, and pretty much everybody did. I think I might have only lost like 5%, 10% of my roster, and I usually figure that's about the percentage of loss whenever you do a big change like that. Raise your rates, you figure some people are going to drop off. Change your entire format. Some people, it's just change, some people have trouble with that. So, yeah, everybody was doing online lessons, and that's actually kind of the way that I wanted to go. I wanted to get everybody into online lessons eventually, but I never had a really good reason to make everybody try it.
Sure.
Except for makeups, But so the pandemic was kind of an advantage in that respect, and that it was the reason that everybody needed to try virtual lessons. And I think it worked great. Like, now everybody knows it's more convenient, less setup time, no parking, no driving, all that stuff is just out the window. So.
And do you have a platform you use more? Like, you use Zoom? What do you do for?
Yeah, I use Zoom.
Yeah. That was pretty wild. I remember in March when stuff started happening, and the first time I ever used Zoom rather than any of the other platforms, and it just was like this revelation that this could even exist. Like, it reminded me of back in like the early 2000s. Like, I remember I was talking with somebody, and they were saying like, "Yeah, man, there's going to be like video coming on the internet." And I was like, "That's never going to happen, man. Like, the pipes are not big enough for the video to come through." And then, of course, like a year later, it's YouTube and everything, and it's just like, whoa, like the world is happening.
Yeah.
It was a wild. It was like a wild transition that happened like that. It was just like, boom. I don't know.
Yeah.
What sorry to go on that rant, but like what specifically has worked really well with the distant lessons, like, and what doesn't work as well? Like, so I've talked to some people that have said, one of the real bummers is, even though the video is really good, with the latency, it's really hard to play together, basically. That's like one thing that doesn't work well. Have you found that, or are there other things that are challenges for you that you've had to work around?
Yeah, the latency is one thing. You know, it's really hard to just jam together. You know, if you need to jam, play simultaneously, there's always going to be a delay. So there's ways you can there's ways that I get around that. Like if I need a student to improvise or something, I will just play chords on my end, and I understand that it's not going to be in sync with what I'm playing, but they hear the chords on their end, and they're able to experiment and play in the sandbox that I want them to. And that's what I want them to get out of it. It's just some play, some experimentation, you know. So that's kind of one way that I get around that. But it would be really nice to just jam simultaneously, no delay. So I'm hoping for that really soon. Some other things that are hard. Sometimes it can be kind of hard with beginning students that are just starting from scratch to teach them things like technique and posture, how to hold the guitar, you know, where to position their wrist and fingers and hands and things like that when they're playing. But I've been getting a lot of practice explaining that, and I'm starting to use, like, I got another camera up here that I use to get like a different angle on
that's cool.
on my hands and stuff like that. So
can you do that at the same time? Like it's in the same Zoom? Is it like another account basically?
No, it's just another camera with Zoom, same account.
Oh man,
it's kind of one of the things.
So can I add more than one camera? Thank you for the tech support. Can I add more than one camera right now to me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh man, I got to do that.
Yeah. So I'll show you. Let's see.
Whoa.
There you go.
Hey,
so,
how's it going?
Yeah. So that's my piano shot. So
oh, so you switch back and forth basically. See, I do know how to do that. So you just say like choose camera and then choose a different one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
But that's one of the things I love about Zoom is it's a lot more flexible that way in terms of like audio, video options compared to say like Skype or something like that.
Sure.
And
Skype's
you can
actually a sponsor of this podcast, so no, I'm just
Skype is? Okay.
No, there's no. It's not. There aren't sponsors.
Well, I was like, wow, nice job.
Yeah, man. Microsoft bringing it in.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. That's a really cool setup. I'll bet that's cool too. If you're playing something, you can have it go straight down and kind of show them how it looks like from their perspective. That's rad.
Yeah, because when it's like a forward-facing camera, it's really kind of two-dimensional, and so having another camera above you, or I've even had one like off to the side here or over here, you give another dimension to the teaching.
I love it. Well, I want to, before we wrap up, I want to definitely give you a chance to talk about how people can be part of these virtual lessons with you. But before that, I want to just ask you a few questions that I'm asking everybody, the same questions. And I'm envisioning a mashup of like everybody going like boom, 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 boom to the different questions. So feel free to be as brief or as long-winded as you want.
Okay.
So what was the first chord that you learned on the guitar?
I think it was D.
D. Great answer. What's the first chord that you teach?
That I teach? I usually teach them a power chord, but then how to build on that to get other chords that they want. So you can get a lot of stuff starting with a power chord. You do major, minor, dominant, minor 7, yeah, all that stuff.
And easy to play. And sounds great.
Yeah.
Right, that's like way right back to your Green Day.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
started.
Yeah.
We already touched on this, but what was the first song that you remember playing?
First song. I think it was Peter Gunn. You know, by the Blues Brothers. Dun 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 dun
Oh
dun.
yeah, is that the one? It's like a chase song, like.
Yeah, the horns. That's the. Yeah, exactly. Wait,
Nice.
how's it go again? Yeah,
You just
nice.
messing with me?
You a horn player or a singer or something?
No, well, I can sing, but I did actually. I played trumpet, the way you played French horn
Okay.
when I was growing up. But okay, what is the one thing that you tell your students to do that they reliably do not do?
Slow down. Slow down. Sometimes I tell people I'm just an answering machine that tells you to slow down because like everything we talk about comes back to, slow down.
Do you mean that just that they are literally playing things too fast? They're rushing instead of like falling into the beat.
Yeah, so playing guitar and pretty much any instrument is a lot of muscle memory, right? And what I find new students doing a lot is they're going too fast and they're making mistakes. And what you're doing when you do that is you're basically just practicing making mistakes. So if you slow down and you do things deliberately, it's easier to go faster sooner. You know what I mean? So by slowing down, teaching your muscles what you want them to do and orchestrating them at a slow speed, they know what to do at a fast speed. Whereas when you just jump into a fast speed, they're like bumping into each other and, all that stuff and just practicing making mistakes. So it's counterintuitive, but it works. And it applies to me a lot too. Like I find myself going too fast sometimes and I just tell myself, slow down, just slow down. It's a hard
That's
thing
awesome,
for people to do.
That's a really good answer. That's the best answer I've gotten so far. What is one oh, the inverse of that. What is one thing you tell your students to do that they reliably do?
Doo-doo. Let's see. So I have one thing I teach a lot of my students is the concept of common fingers between switching chords. Okay, so between a lot of the popular chords and just about, I'd say, 50 to 60% of the chords you play, you have fingers that are going to be on the same fret, the same string for the next chord.
Like C to an A minor or something.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize this and they take their finger off and then apply it back into the same place for the next chord, And I would say, you're making more work for yourself. But once students learn to do this, I find that they're always looking for common fingers in all of their chords, and they feel a little bit disappointed when there's not a common finger in their chord, or they run out of gas when they discover that there's not a common finger in the next chord. And I always say, it's a bonus. You don't always get a common finger in the next chord, but it helps. So you're lucky when it happens, but it doesn't always happen.
That's awesome. What is your go-to song to teach to people that have never played before?
Probably By the Numbers would be Smoke on the Water. But I have kind of changed that. As of late, it's been like Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, dun, 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 because those are all open strings. That's super easy. Or Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. Just kind of the one string version.
Nice.
So.
Nice. If you weren't a guitar teacher, what job would you like to try?
Something with traveling. I love to travel. Um, I don't know, maybe a flight attendant or, um, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a fighter pilot, really bad. Then I realized I didn't have the grades for that. um, so I really like those things. Probably one of those.
Nice. Fighter pilot or flight attendant?
Yeah.
There's very like there's also like a lot of room in aviation between those two jobs too. So there's places to go, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which this is the last one. Which instrument that you do not play would you most like to learn to play?
I always say it would be the quads. You see a marching band, and when I was a kid, I always loved the quad drums. Those four drums.
I don't know what that is, man. Is that okay? Is that what somebody's wearing? Like, there's like four. Okay, so there's four drums.
Yep.
I can vaguely picture what that is, but as soon as we get off this thing, I'm gonna Google it and take a look.
Yeah. So
that's gonna be the rest of my morning. Is like watching marching band videos.
Yeah, I just always thought it was so cool and badass to these guys, in the back drumming the quads. They had their uniforms on, and they got these drums that sound so awesome. They're going so fast, and I think that's probably what I would play if I didn't pick up guitar.
That's a great answer, man. Well, thank you so much. I want to before we go, can you talk a little bit about how people can find you and your school online if they, after listening to this, are like, man, I also want to learn how to do the quads, but I'll start with the guitar.
Yeah, well, I can't teach you the quads, but I can teach you guitar. So my website is rockwellguitarschool.com. We teach all instruments. Well, what we teach guitar. That's what my major is in. That's my primary instrument. We also teach bass, mandolin, ukulele, banjo, and piano. And you can go to our website, and we offer virtual lessons. And the sign up for that is easy and as frictionless as we can possibly make it. You can sign up for lessons and schedule your lessons right away. You can see when I'm available. You won't double book me. All our scheduling is handled by software. We do payment through PayPal, and you can start lessons tomorrow if you wanted. But I am usually booked about a week or two in advance. So that's how you could do that. And you can check out me and Rockwell Guitar School on all the normal social media outlets. If you search Rockwell Guitar School on YouTube, we've got a bunch of videos, demos, free lessons. We're also on Facebook. We've got some live lessons there. So yeah, and you can easily get in contact with me, message me through the website. There's a little Facebook Messenger app that'll pop up, and yeah, so.
I saw that. That's cool. Nice, man. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I had a good time. It was like a fun conversation.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed it too. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. All right, take it easy.
All right. See you, Chris.
All right. That can be like the cut of the thing. But anyway, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. No problem.